Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Becker, and I'm with my brother and co-host, Justin Becker. And today we're going to cover the Obi Toppin quotes that came out the other day. He had his first press conference with the Indiana Pacers. It was through a Zoom call, so it wasn't a traditional press conference, but it was still the most formal introduction that we've gotten from Obi Toppin since he got traded for 2 second-round picks just a couple weeks ago. So we're kind of going to dive into that a little bit. He said some positive things. For the most part, it was positive. He obviously hinted a little bit that it wasn't a fantastic, most ideal situation that it was in New York. But for the most part, he was very positive about his time in New York, and he was, thankful for the opportunity he had. So we're kind of going to just jump right into it. Justin, how are you doing today? And first, what do you think about some of these quotes? I know there's some pretty interesting stuff that he said in this stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm doing well. So as far as the quotes go, I think he handled it well, to be honest. It's not easy for any player to get traded, but it's especially not easy for a young player to get traded that didn't really get the opportunity, like as Obi did. He spent his whole career basically behind Julius Randle, only averaging somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes a game. He was the 8th overall pick. So, he probably would have liked to have more opportunity with the Knicks, but, I thought he handled the trade well. Everything he said was pretty good. He said he enjoyed his time with the Knicks. He enjoyed the opportunity he got. He was thankful that he even got the opportunity to play for the Knicks. You know what I mean? So, I thought he handled it well. With some players, they might just be like, oh, I didn't get to play a whole lot. I hated it there. Obi, he didn't do any of that. He said, I'm thankful for the opportunity, but now it's the start of a new chapter in Indiana. So, I didn't get the playing time I wanted, but hopefully now I have an opportunity to get playing time. So I think he handled it well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that he handled it pretty well. For the most part in Obi's career, he's been pretty, professional when it comes to the media and stuff. He's always said the right things. He's never gotten himself into controversy. And the one time he really did was when he had that little altercation that was reported with Tom Thibodeau during the playoffs, and then the audio leaked about it. But they even asked Obi about it, and he said, basically he doesn't want to talk about it. If I have the quote right here, he said, quote, "I'm not really worried about the past anymore, thinking about that." Basically, he's just focused on what's ahead of him now. He's got this new chapter with the Pacers. He's not dwelling on his past with the Knicks. He's not dwelling on the fact that he didn't get to play a whole lot and that he was stuck playing behind an all NBA level player. That's not necessarily Obi Toppin's fault. It's just Julius Randle ended up becoming this, really good player to where he became a franchise cornerstone. The Knicks ended up signing to an extension, and you knew at that point that Obi Toppin's long-term outlook in New York was bleak. Right. So you knew it was kind of going to be a tough spot for him when that happened. That's not Obi Toppin's fault. When the Knicks drafted him, they wanted Obi to essentially replace Randle, right? That was like their main idea. And, Randle ended up becoming what he is now, and that unfortunately left Obi in a tough spot. I think Obi Toppin is a very solid NBA player. I want to make that clear because, even though I'm, always going to be a Randle person, I do think Obi Toppin is a solid NBA player. I don't think he's necessarily bad, and I do think, him getting drafted 8th overall was deserving. He was the best player really available at the time. And the Knicks went that route of drafting the best available player. Yes, some could argue that we should have taken Tyrese Halliburton, but I don't. At the time, many people were pretty certain that Obi Toppin was like the best available player. So the Knicks went that route, and it just didn't work. Sometimes these draft picks don't work out. The Knicks unfortunately have a history of draft picks and lottery picks not working out. I don't think the Obi Toppin situation is in the same category as like the Kevin Knox stuff or Frank Ntilikina. I don't think it's in the same category because Obi Toppin at least still provides some serviceable basketball, and he was a part of some really good moments. With his time in the Knicks. For example, filling in for Randle in game 1 of the second round. Yes, I know the Knicks lost that game, but at least Obi Toppin was available and stepped up to a degree on the offensive side at least. The main reason you didn't see Toppin a whole lot really when Randle was playing, you couldn't really play Randle and Toppin together because, it was not a good match for defensive purposes, Maybe offensively it improved it a little bit, but defensively it was a nightmare. I'm going to be honest. And in today's NBA, you have to have good defense if you want to be able to succeed. And Toppin didn't really provide that on that side as a power forward. So, in terms of just fit and play style, I don't think New York was exactly the destination for Toppin at all. On the surface, it seems like a dream. Like even Toppin mentioned it. He loved playing in MSG, loved being able to play on the Knicks and all that. On the surface seems like a dream, for a guy like that, for a young player to get drafted to a high market like New York and play in the most famous arena. But, it just wasn't working. And I think, the Knicks moving Toppin was just the right thing to do. even if the return wasn't phenomenal. I know some Knicks fans were pretty upset that we only got 2 second rounders out of it. And at the end of the day, I don't think that's really something you can knock the Knicks for. I think that's more so just that's kind of what Toppin's value is sitting at right now, and that's just because Toppin hasn't had much of an opportunity to really prove himself in this league. Over the course of 3 years, he averaged 14 minutes a game and just 7 points. It's a small sample size. Yes, he's shown flashes of what he can do as a starter, but unfortunately, the only things you can rely on is the opportunities he actually was given in games, which 95% of the time was a limited bench role. They tried to turn him into a spot up shooter because they badly needed shooting. It wasn't working. It's a better move for both the Knicks to move on from Toppin here and to look for someone that fits the timeline or fits the roster a little bit more. And for Toppin as well, he gets a bigger opportunity now. He's going to get a lot more playing time in Indiana, most certainly, whether it's a starter or not. He's definitely going to get more than 10 minutes a game. He's definitely going to play a large role into that Indiana young offense. So that being said, I mean, I'm rooting for the guy. I have no animosity toward him. I never did. I just think getting rid of him was just the right move. There's a certain degree to where you guys just realize, business wise and basketball wise, it was the right thing to do. I don't think the Knicks really messed up here in getting rid of Obi, because I know some fans were saying that. I don't think they really messed up here. I think they had to do it. It would have felt kind of awkward if he was still suiting up for the Knicks on opening night next year, given that, we thought he was going to get traded at the deadline. So just given all this stuff, the lack of opportunities he had and all that stuff, it was just meant to, for them to split. It was just meant to be, and like Obi said here in these quotes, he was thankful for what he had, when he was with us. He was thankful for just having an opportunity at all, so he said all the right things. I mean, there's this quote right here. He said, quote, "I had a great time with the Knicks. Obviously, it's been a dream to have the opportunity to play at MSG, obviously put that Knicks jersey on. There were great players there, great coaches. Everybody was amazing there." So he's not dwelling on the fact that he wasn't getting a lot of playing time, or, that he had a small role, or trashing the coaches or anything like that, or kind of, throwing some little shade. No, he was thankful for it. And he respects the opportunity he was given. He knows that it was tough for him to find playing time. He acknowledged that he didn't get what he wanted, but he also didn't necessarily say, "I didn't get what I wanted because the coaches think I suck." No, he didn't say something like that. He knew it just wasn't working, and it was time to move on. So
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think it was time to move on for both Obi and the Knicks. I mean, he had no fit on the Knicks. We have Randall. He's an All NBA player. Toppin's not going to play in front of him. That's just a matter of fact. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, we traded away an All-Star. Okay, be so for real with yourself, man. We did not trade away an All-Star. All the big numbers he put up were at the end of the season, meaningless games. Neither team was really trying to win. Okay, you know what I mean? I like Obi, but some people are getting a little too ahead of themselves with who we got rid of. You know what I mean? So, I think it was, but other than that, I think it was good for both Obi and the Knicks. Obi's now going to get a bigger opportunity with Indiana. I like the fit in Indiana a lot more. They run really fast. That's exactly what Obi's good at, getting out and running and, fit transition finishes, all that stuff. I think that's a good fit. I think him and a young point guard with Tyrese Halliburton, that's going to be a good fit. I don't know what role they're going to give Toppin. I don't know if he's going to be a starter or he's coming off the bench, but either way, I think that's a good fit with Tyrese Halliburton. And I think it was time to move on. It's all water under the bridge now. I mean, he's gone. We can't really change it. People are mad about the return, but like you said, that's just kind of how he's valued around the league. You know what I mean? If that was the best offer we were able to give up for Toppin, it should show you kind of where he stands value-wise around the league, how other teams view him. You know what I mean? So I don't think the return obviously isn't ideal. You turn the 8th overall pick into 2 second-round picks, but that's just kind of how his career has played out to this point. You know what I mean? If you were a GM, would you give up a first-round pick for Obi Toppin? Probably not. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I stand on it.
yeah, no, if the Knicks envisioned to get a first round pick in return for Obi Toppin, it would have probably had to be done in a trade package, for a much larger type of star level player, and maybe adding a pick or something like that. You weren't going to get Obi Toppin for a first round pick or two simply as that. No way. Obi Toppin, like I said, he hasn't had much opportunity to prove himself in the league, so teams aren't going to be willing to give up a possible franchise changing draft pick that they have in their arsenal for, quite frankly, an unproven asset. It sucks, but that's the true reality of it. You know what I mean? Some teams are not going to want to do that. And, adding two second round picks, like you said, yes, it's not ideal, but in my eyes, it's better than nothing. Because quite frankly, Obi Toppin was not going to stay as a Knick if they ever let him hit free agency. So it's better than nothing. I'd rather them add some more draft capital, even if it's just some second rounders. It's better to add more draft capital and use that for future trades or future transactions you want to do. And if they end up drafting someone with those picks that they got, then they draft someone with those picks. But for what I see it as just adding some more draft capital to make a splash move. Maybe not necessarily this offseason anymore because the options have dwindled pretty heavily. But maybe next offseason they make a big splash trade for a superstar that comes available and falls into their lap, and they can use some of that draft capital they got out of this to do it. And now, I know there's a conversation about, oh, who's going to back up Randall now, this, that. Yes, I know, you could theoretically just have RJ and Josh Hart kind of split the time at the four when Julius Randle was not on the floor, because Julius Randle is going to play close to 40 minutes anyway. I know there's been talk about Isaiah Roby. I know he's been up and down in summer league so far, so that's still kind of a to be determined with that in my eyes. But I think they can still find maybe somebody through free agency, maybe someone like a JaMychal Green, because I know he's still available. Grant Williams or Torrey Craig would have been my go-to, but they both were signed somewhere else, so the jury's out on that. We kind of just need to focus on somebody else. And if they don't get a backup four at all, if they end up just kind of running a 9-man without Obi's spot, then so be it. I think the team already got a whole lot better by adding DiVincenzo and removing Toppin. I think right there alone made the team a whole lot better. Whatever they decide to do is what they decide to do. I don't really know what exactly they're going to do just yet. We're still in early July, so that's still kind of months away before we really know what the rotation is going to look like. But, with that, just to kind of pivot back towards the Toppin stuff, I'm rooting for the guy. I really want to see him succeed. I'm not going to, hope that he doesn't do well just because he's not on the Knicks. No, I want him to do really well. He seems like a great guy. The guys in the locker room seem to love Obi Toppin when he was here. He formed a lot of good chemistry with Emmanuel Quickly. Josh Hart hung out with him the other day and posted a picture of him in his Pacers gear and put some vomiting emojis on it. I thought that was pretty funny, but clearly the guys get along with him very well. So, that's always a good thing to see. And for Indiana, that's going to, if you're a Pacers fan watching this, you're going to get a good guy. Team's going to love Obi Toppin. He seems like a fantastic guy, very professional, very, stand-up guy. So, I'm rooting for him. I hope he succeeds. Obviously as a Knicks fan here, it kind of stinks that we had to let him go, but at the same time, it had to be done. It had to be done. They had to get him off this team any way they could, just for the sake of not only him but the organization. It just would have made the most sense to move on from him, and they did. So I'm glad the Knicks were able to get it done this offseason and not prolong this into training camp or into even the start of next season. I'm glad they were just able to get it done now. End it off. They tried for 3 years. It just wasn't working. It was time to move on. That's kind of all I got to say. I don't know if you got any final thoughts on this before we wrap this up, but yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. It was time to move on. It's for the betterment of both the Knicks and Obi. I'm wishing Obi the best in Indiana. I hope he succeeds. I don't want him to just, fall out of the league. That would really suck. You know what I mean? He's, like you said, he's a great guy. You know what I mean? And there is untapped potential there. I would like to see him flourish. You know what I mean? So he wasn't going to flourish with the Knicks. It is what it is. People are going to say, if he goes off in Indiana, people are going to be like, we traded away an all-star. It's the end of the world. We have an all-star at his position. It's just a matter of fact. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to get the opportunity in New York. It just wasn't going to happen. No matter how upset you are if we traded him, it just wasn't going to happen. We weren't going to stash him on the bench forever. You know what I mean? He had to move on somehow. So that's just kind of my final thoughts on it. So yeah, that's how I feel about the Obi Toppin situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Like you said, we got an all-star at that position, so it was just time to move on from Obi. It was meant to be. I mean, it wasn't gonna work. But with all that being said, we'd love to hear what you guys would think about this in the comments section. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us. Do you think the Knicks got rid of an all-star, or do you think it was right for the Knicks to move Toppin? Let us know what you think. We're here to agree to disagree, so we'd love to hear everyone's viewpoints on this situation. This is the first podcast me and my brother have done, just us two, so I'm really looking forward to doing more of this with him. Really excited for it. Make sure you guys follow him, by the way, because he's going to be a main part of this team going forward. So make sure you follow him. He's got some good stuff out there, and hope he'll get some more stuff out there in the future. But with that being said, you can follow us on many of our platforms. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Threads now as well, and of course this YouTube page. So make sure you guys check us out on all that stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next Fireside Knicks video. Peace out, y'all.